the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, updating the tragic shooting death of Chicago police officer Krystal Rivera. Over the weekend, the church she attended, Faith World, it's called, had a prayer offering, as you would expect, for both the fallen officer as well as the officer who apparently accidentally shot Krystal Rivera. It's apparent right now that it was a case of friendly fire when she and her partner were pursuing a suspect with a gun. This was the prayer offering for the partner.
There were also prayers for the fellow officer whose weapon unintentionally hit Rivera while they were in pursuit of a suspect.
Father, we pray that you would give her strength beyond comprehension, that you would let her know that she is loved.
Well, in addition to that, as we talked about last week, I mean, the cluster this was, in addition to this apparently being a friendly fire incident, we also remember that the car they were traveling in to take her to get medical care
caught on fire.
Yeah.
And then they had to transfer her to another vehicle. They had to wait. But we don't know if that would have changed the outcome. But still, it's just a horrific set of circumstances. And this monster who pointed a rifle at her and fellow officers, he shouldn't have been out in the first place. 6 warrants.
Yeah.
And a revoked Ford card due to a domestic battery charge.
He's a convicted felon. It's the same old story. Court records indicate he failed to appear in court on an identity theft charge on June 5th of last year, exactly 1 year before the Rivera shooting. The judge in the case ordered her clerk to send him a postcard reminder of his court obligations. Shockingly, he didn't comply with the postcard.
Look at my shocked face, Dan.
And then a failure to appear warrant was issued a month later, which remained active until he was arrested after the shooting death of Krystal Rivera and charged with multiple crimes, including illegal possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a fraudulent ID. And I mean, I would argue he could and should be charged with felony murder because it was his pointing the rifle at an officer, which led to the response, which led to Krystal Rivera's death. So I think that makes out a felony murder charge, but I'm no Cook County State's attorney, so what do I know? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by John Garrido, former Chicago Police Lieutenant in the 16th District and president of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation, GarridoStrayRescue.org. If you're looking for a furry companion for life, like I got there with my buddy Hayek.
And I tried to stop it.
Yeah. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
So I want to ask the questions or pose the questions that I posed to you offline, just because, I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking this, and your response privately was fair, and I think it provides some good context. So one of the initial things when understanding this was a friendly fire incident, you ask, well, how does this happen? I mean, when you have two officers pursuing a suspect believed to have a weapon, aren't they in a formation when they enter a home or a space like that, where if they have to react to defend themselves, they're not in each other's way so they can avoid friendly fire? And your response to that question is what?
Unfortunately, nothing is perfect. You can train and train and train, and sometimes at the end of the day, just accidents just happen. And I think I mentioned it don't really want to Monday morning quarterback what the officers did or their actions were, because every situation is going to be absolutely different. I don't know the circumstances of how they were going in or where they were going in or at what point the weapon actually discharged. And, the bigger question is what you guys brought up is why was this guy even out on the street? It really just comes down to that our laws here just allow these offenders to be repeat offenders and constantly be out there. He pointed a weapon at the officers, and the officers drew their weapons, and unfortunately and tragically, the one, discharged a weapon. But again, I don't know the specific circumstances of where they were at the time. I mean, I can only speculate and imagine. Kick the door open, this guy's pointing a rifle at them, and they're caught off guard and the weapon discharged.
If he just would have complied and put the rifle down, I don't think any of this would happen. But of course, and he should have been behind bars to begin with. So he had this arrest warrant with Cook County since July of 2024 that Dan mentioned. But why didn't Sheriff Dart make the arrest?
Right. Well, that's the other thing is priority and resources and where our resources are put. Right. I think what would they say, or did you say it that like 40% of these arrest warrants aren't even executed? They don't prioritize scooping these guys up. They can send out messages and lists to the Chicago Police Department on a regular basis to let them know exactly who out there is wanted on a warrant and their last known location so they can be picked up. The sheriff has their own officers that can go out and grab these guys. But like I think you just mentioned about the postcard, for whatever reason, these just aren't a priority.
I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of health and wellness, because we had a conversation about that offline too. There's a new protocol coming down the pike, so it's particularly relevant now. And I mean, I understand from some of the discussions that the Krystal Rivera's partner is inconsolable because of this accidental shooting, which is understandable. But you expressed some concerns to me about what the wellness protocols for Chicago police are, given the trauma they endure, particularly something as tragic as this. And I just wanted you to sort of go through that and give people perspective.
Right. I mean, many times people don't think about the trauma to the other officers. I mean, you think about it, this officer was shot. They have to carry her. They get her into a squad car, and then these officers are probably doing, taking life-saving measures to try to save her while they're trying to drive to the hospital. And then when that car breaks down, and then they have to get her into another car. I mean, that in itself is next level trauma to these officers, and so many other things that we see out there. And now the department is actually just throwing up more roadblocks. There are third-party organizations that come in and meet with officers on a regular basis. As you can imagine, it's difficult to gain the trust of officers when you're talking about somebody's going to come in and somebody that they're going to actually open up to. A rapport needs to be developed. And it started probably back in about 2019, 2020, or 2020 for sure, during the George Floyd riots, when a lot of these organizations were actually able to start coming in and go to roll calls because our own EAP wasn't going out because of COVID. So officers started to build a rapport with these organizations and opened up to them and talked to them. And if you look at the track record that we've had, since 1999, when Dr. Sobo, who's the director of our counseling organization, has been there, we've gone up. We're 60% higher than the national average in suicides in the Chicago Police Department. We went all the way up to where in 2022 we actually had 7 officers commit suicide. The numbers have gone up. There's been over 25 officers just in the last 5 years, and over 50 officers since he's been in charge. Whatever they're doing isn't working, and this is just another step of Dr. Sobo throwing up roadblocks to try to control and gatekeep to keep these organizations out.
So yeah, you use the phrase control, not care. So what would care look like? What would you say the approach should be?
The care should look like they should. If EAP wants to be an umbrella organization, fine, do that. And you have all these other organizations that are involved, and continue to let them be there for our officers. He put out an order the other day that paused everything. So as of right now, none of these third-party organizations are allowed to go to roll calls, and they're not allowed to go out there and speak to officers. When there's a traumatic incident, they are not allowed in the stations to go out there and meet with these officers as of right now as we speak, because they want to pause it until they can get this policy underway. Well, that in itself just screams of why? He's been there for 20 years. If they're going to develop a policy, just develop the policy and then try to implement it later. And the key is people are like, well, what, officers can't talk to these organizations? Yeah, they absolutely can outside of the police department. But where the rubber meets the road are those roll calls. That is a significant part of what these organizations, where they're able to meet the officers, where they're able to talk to the officers, and where they're able to build that rapport with these officers. It's frustrating.
And where does Superintendent Snelling come in all this?
Superintendent Snelling, I have no doubts in my mind that he is 100% on board to help the officers. The problem is he has inherited this organization, and look, Dr. Sobo talks a good game, and Sobo's actually the one that brought up that we need to do this new order and this new vetting process and this new gatekeeping system that they're trying to put together here. So I know Snelling wants to do the right thing for these officers, and I know that he cares about these officers. But the problem is, I think he's got this guy in his ear that's actually, I believe personally, that he's a detriment to our officers.
Wow. Does Snelling have the respect among the rank and file?
Absolutely.
He still does.
Wait, who's the guy in the ear you're referencing?
Dr. Sobo, the director of our counseling unit. He's tried to, back in 2021, he tried to block another organization, the Well Resource Center, from going to roll calls. In 2022, he successfully blocked another, it was an app that was offered to the police department that's used widely by suburban departments that puts in the officer's hand a resource where they can reach out to peer support officers from other local departments and to reach out to counselors, basically, that have been vetted, where other officers and law enforcement have gone to, and they're saying, yeah, these people are okay, these are people that we could talk to. And he blocked it because he felt that officers wouldn't want to talk to peer support officers from other departments. Which is completely untrue.
Where are all the mental illness hawks that are always talking about mental illness, in the general population and mental health centers, including the mayor and members of the city council? Where are they on the mental health of police?
Yeah, they'll talk about it. They talk a good game, and every time there's a tragedy, and that the first thing they'll get out there and they'll give their speech. But at the end of the day, it's ridiculous. We back in 2020 only had 7 or 8 counselors for the entire Chicago Police Department, and then in 2022, when we reached the 7 officers that killed themselves that year, then it was a big push. We're going to hire more counselors. We still don't have enough counselors. I think they're up to 14 or 15 counselors for the entire Chicago Police Department. We need more resources for officers, not less. And the order that was put out last week that pauses all third-party organizations from coming in to see our officers, and then this new order that they're drafting, putting up all these roadblocks, is actually reducing the availability for our officers.
And how is recruitment going at Chicago Police these days?
It's still rough. You can actually now, I believe, just walk in, and when they give a test, you can just walk in and sit down and take the test. It's extremely difficult. I'm hoping it turns around. The climate seems to be changing. They don't seem to be beating up on the police as much as they were in recent years, but because we need officers. Obviously, we need good officers to work out there, and unfortunately, when you have a hard time recruiting, they have to lower the standard.
I remember people waiting months and years to take that test. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. When was the last time there was a friendly fire incident in the Chicago Police Department?
Boy, I don't even remember the last time. Yeah, it rarely happens, and that's why I don't want to second guess these officers, because it rarely happens, and without being in that moment or in that situation, who knows exactly what or why or how it happened. The whole thing is a tragedy.
Do you think the current officers are receiving proper training, like in simulators and things like that?
Well, there's never enough training, obviously. You can always get more. I know Officer Krystal Rivera was, I think, only on 4 years, so the amount of training that she would have gotten wouldn't have been as extensive as maybe another officer that's been on longer. I don't know how long her partner's been on the job. So yeah, there's things that you can do and things that you can prepare for. But again, until you're in that moment, in that situation, and look, just the fact that we can't even remember the last time there was a friendly fire incident, says that, that they are doing something right in that regard.
John Garrido, former Chicago Police Lieutenant in the 16th District and president of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation. If you want a furry friend, go to GarridoStrayRescue.org, GarridoStrayRescue.org. John, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the